I dropped the magazine. It slipped right through my fingers and hit the linoleum floor of my kitchen with a slap that seemed too loud for such a thin thing. The glossy cover stared up at me, and there she was, Sophia. My Sophia. Except the caption didn't say struggling immigrant chef or small-town restaurant owner. It said Sophia Castellanos, heiress to the Castellanos restaurant empire, reveals her secret project, $20 billion. That's what the article said her family was worth. $20 billion. I had to sit down. My hands were shaking as I picked up the magazine again, and I read the article 3 times before the words started to make sense. Sophia Castellanos. Not Sophia Martinez, which is what she'd told me her name was. Not the struggling single mother from El Salvador trying to make ends meet in our small Oregon town. Not the woman who'd cried in my kitchen because she didn't know how she'd pay for her daughter's school supplies. The woman I'd spent 3 years helping. The woman I'd invested my entire retirement savings into. The woman I'd thought of as the daughter I never had. Let me back up. Let me tell you how I met Sophia, because without that, none of this makes any sense. It was 3 years ago, on a Tuesday morning in April. I remember because Tuesdays were my volunteer day at the community center, and April in Seal Cove, Oregon, means the rain finally starts to let up enough that you can see the ocean without it looking angry. I'd just retired from teaching high school English the year before, and my husband Tom had been gone for 18 months. Heart attack. Sudden. The kind that leaves you with a house that's too quiet and days that stretch too long. The community center was my way of filling those days. That morning, I was setting up for the ESL class I taught when she walked in. Mid-20s, maybe. Thin. Too thin, actually. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, and these enormous brown eyes that made her look even younger. She was carrying a little girl on her hip. The child couldn't have been more than 3. "Excuse me," she said, and her accent was thick, musical. "They tell me you help with English?" I smiled. "That's right. Do you want to join the class?" She looked down, embarrassed. "I cannot pay." "Honey, it's free. That's what we're here for." Her eyes filled with tears, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to cry too if she keeps that up. I've always been a sucker for a sad story, and Tom used to tease me about it. "Maggie," he'd say, "you'd give away your last dollar if someone told you they needed it more." He wasn't wrong. Sophia became a regular in my class. Twice a week, like clockwork, she'd show up with little Isabella, who'd play quietly in the corner with donated toys while her mother learned irregular verbs and how to pronounce "uth" sounds. After class, we'd talk. That's how I learned her story, or what I thought was her story. She'd come from El Salvador, she said, fled gang violence. Her husband had been killed. She'd made the journey north with Isabella, who was just a baby then, crossing the border with nothing but the clothes on their backs and hope. She'd ended up in Seal Cove because someone at the border told her there was work here, in the fish canneries. But what Sophia really wanted, what made her eyes light up when she talked about it, was to cook. Real cooking, she said, not the line work at the cannery. She dreamed of opening a restaurant, a small place, nothing fancy, somewhere she could serve the food from her home, from her grandmother's recipes. "My abuela," she'd say, "she taught me everything. How to make pupusas, how to get the masa just right, how to make curtido that's crispy and sour. But here, there is nowhere to make this food. The people, they don't know it." I listened to her talk, and I thought about the restaurant Tom and I had owned for 30 years. Nothing fancy, just a diner on Main Street. We'd sold it when we retired, and I'd put the money in savings. Safe, boring savings that earned almost nothing but at least didn't lose value. 3 months into knowing Sophia, I made a decision. "I want to help you," I told her after class one day. She looked confused. "You help me? You teach me English?" "No, I mean really help. With your dream, the restaurant." Her face went pale. "I cannot ask." "You're not asking. I'm offering." That's how it started. Me, the retired teacher with too much time and too much quiet in her house, and Sophia, the struggling immigrant with a dream. I thought I was being noble. I thought I was doing something good with the money Tom and I had saved. He'd always said we should live a little, take risks. Well, Tom, I thought, here's my risk. I used $15,000 from our savings to help Sophia rent a small space downtown. It used to be a sandwich shop, narrow and cramped, but it had a kitchen and a few tables. We painted the walls together, me and Sophia and Isabella. Yellow, because Sophia said it reminded her of sunshine. We found used equipment. A stove from a restaurant that closed in the next town over. Tables and chairs from an estate sale. I paid for it all. "You pay me back when you can," I told her. "No rush." The restaurant opened 6 months after we met. Sophia called it Abuela's Kitchen, and she served exactly what she'd dreamed of. Pupusas, tamales, things I'd never heard of before. The food was incredible. I'm not just saying that because I'd invested in the place. The woman could cook. But here's the thing about small towns and new restaurants serving food people don't recognize. They're slow to catch on. The first year was brutal. Some weeks, Sophia barely made enough to cover rent. I found myself forgetting things at the restaurant. $100 tucked under a napkin dispenser. Oh, I must have left this here last night. Checks made out to cash, slipped into her purse when she wasn't looking. For Isabella's birthday, I'd say. Even when it wasn't her birthday. My daughter-in-law, Tom's son's wife, she noticed. "Maggie," she said when she visited for Thanksgiving that first year, "are you helping that woman financially?" "Just a little." "How much is a little?" I didn't answer. And she sighed. "You can't save everyone, you know. You barely know her." But I did know her. I knew she worked 16-hour days. I knew Isabella had started calling me Grandma Maggie because I watched her 3 afternoons a week so Sophia could prep for dinner service. I knew Sophia cried every time she had to tell her daughter they couldn't afford something. I knew what it felt like to lose someone and have to rebuild your entire life. By the end of year 2, I'd put in another $20,000. Not all at once. In pieces. New equipment when the old stove died. Money for advertising. Paying the deposit when the landlord raised the rent. I told myself it was an investment. The restaurant was starting to get noticed. Food bloggers from Portland drove down to try it. There was a write-up in the local paper. "You're going to be famous," I told Sophia. "All this is going to pay off." She hugged me, and I felt like I'd done something right. For the first time since Tom died, I felt like I had purpose. My friends at church, they had opinions too. "Maggie, you're too generous," Dorothy from the choir said. "What if this girl just disappears one day?" "She's not going to disappear. She's building a life here." "You barely have any savings left." "I have enough." Did I? I'd started using my Social Security check to cover my own bills because the savings were getting thin. I'd stopped going to my book club because the restaurant where we met for lunch every month was too expensive now. I'd canceled the cable. These were small sacrifices, I told myself. Sophia needed the help more than I needed HBO. Then came year 3, and everything changed. Isabella got sick, really sick. She'd always been a healthy kid, energetic and loud in the best way, but in January, she started getting these terrible headaches. Sophia took her to the free clinic, and they said it was probably nothing, growing pains. But it kept getting worse. By March, Isabella was in the hospital. They found a tumor. Benign, thank God, but it needed surgery. Complex surgery. The kind that costs more money than someone working 60 hours a week in a restaurant kitchen has. Sophia came to me in tears. "I don't know what to do," she said. "The insurance, it covers some, but I need $8,000. For the deductible and the things they don't cover. I don't have it, Maggie. I don't have it." I didn't have it either. Not anymore. I'd put almost everything into the restaurant. My savings account had $4,000 left. That's it. But I had the house. Tom and I had paid off the mortgage years ago. The house was worth maybe $200,000 in this market. I could take out a home equity line of credit. I could borrow against it. My son called me when he found out. "Mom, you can't do this." "I can and I will. You're risking your home for someone you've known for 3 years. She's family, David. She's not family. We're family. Me, the kids, we're your family." I hung up on him. I'd never done that before, but I was so angry. What did he know about it? He lived in Seattle with his perfect job and his perfect house. He wasn't here. He didn't see Sophia's face every day, the exhaustion and the fear. He didn't watch Isabella color pictures in the hospital, trying to be brave. I borrowed $15,000 against the house. I gave it all to Sophia. The surgery went well. Isabella recovered. By May, She was back to her normal self, running around the restaurant and laughing. Sophia cried every time she looked at me. "I will pay you back," she promised. "Every penny." "I promise, Maggie." "I know you will, honey." "I know." Summer came, and the restaurant started doing better. Tourist season meant more customers, people from out of town trying local spots. Sophia hired another cook. She was talking about expanding the menu. Things were looking up. I was happy. Tired, maybe. I was working part-time at the library now because I needed the money, even though I was 64 and supposed to be enjoying retirement. My knees hurt from standing at the restaurant, helping during rush hours. I'd stopped buying new clothes. I was eating a lot of rice and beans myself, but I was happy. Then came the Thursday in late August, when everything fell apart. I was at the library, shelving books in the magazine section, when I saw it. Food and Wine magazine, the September issue. And there, on the cover, among the headlines about fall recipes and wine pairings, was a small banner. Secret Heiress, How a Billionaire's Daughter Tested America's Heart. My heart stopped. I pulled the magazine from the shelf and flipped to the article. Page 43. And there she was. Sophia. My Sophia. Except she was wearing a designer dress, standing in front of what looked like a mansion, and the article called her Sophia Castellanos. Not Martinez. Castellanos. I had to read it twice before it sank in. The Castellanos family owned one of the largest restaurant empires in Latin America, hundreds of locations across Mexico, Central America, South America. They were worth $20 billion, with a B. And Sophia, their youngest daughter, had apparently decided 3 years ago that she wanted to understand the real struggles of immigrant restaurant owners. So she'd created a fake identity, moved to a small town in America, and opened a restaurant with no help from her family's money or connections. The article called it inspiring. It said she wanted to prove herself and see if people would help someone in need. The article had quotes from her. "I learned so much about kindness," she said, "about the generosity of the American people. There was this one woman, a retired teacher, who gave me everything, her savings, her time, her love. She believed in me when I had nothing. Nothing. She had nothing, except a family worth $20 billion. The magazine fell from my hands for the second time that day. I left work early. I told them I felt sick, which wasn't a lie. I drove to the restaurant in a daze. It was 2 in the afternoon, between lunch and dinner service. The place was empty except for Sophia in the kitchen, prepping vegetables. She looked up when she heard the door and smiled, that same warm smile she'd given me 1,000 times. "Maggie, I wasn't expecting you today." I put the magazine on the counter between us. Her smile died. "I can explain," she said quietly. "Can you?" My voice didn't sound like my own. "Can you explain why you lied to me for 3 years? Why you let me give you almost $50,000 when your family is worth billions? Why you let me mortgage my house for your daughter's surgery when you could have paid for it with pocket change?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Sophia? Or should I call you by your real last name?" She set down the knife she'd been holding. Her hands were shaking. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After you'd taken every last dollar I had?" "I wasn't taking anything. I was going to pay you back. I still am. With interest. I have the money ready." "I don't want your money!" I was yelling now, and I never yell. "I want to know why. Why did you lie to me?" She was crying. "Because I wanted to know if it was real, if people would help someone, not because of my family name, not because they wanted something from us, but because they actually cared. My whole life, Maggie. Everyone who's ever been nice to me wanted something. They wanted access to my father, or money, or connections. I wanted to know what it felt like to be loved for me, just me. So you used me? No. God, no. You were the only real thing in my life. You and Isabella, this restaurant, this town. It was real for me, but it was a lie for me. I could barely get the words out past the tightness in my throat. I thought you needed me. I thought I was helping you build a life. You were helping me. You did help me. You taught me what real kindness looks like, what real sacrifice looks like. My family, they throw money at problems. They don't know what it means to give something that actually costs them. But you, Maggie, you gave me everything when you had so little. That means something. It means I was a fool. I left. I walked out of that restaurant, got in my car, and drove home. I didn't answer when Sophia called. 23 calls in the first hour, then texts. Then she showed up at my house, but I didn't open the door. I spent 3 days in bed. I know that sounds dramatic, but I couldn't function. My son called. My daughter-in-law called. Word had spread. The article had mentioned Seal Cove, and apparently reporters were starting to show up, looking for the generous woman who'd helped the secret heiress. I didn't want to talk to any of them. On the 4th day, there was a knock at my door at 6 in the morning. I almost didn't answer, but whoever it was, they were persistent. It was Isabella. She was standing on my porch alone, in her pajamas and rain boots, holding a piece of paper. "Grandma Maggie," she said. "Mama says she's sorry. She says please read this." I took the paper. It was a drawing. Isabella loved to draw. This one was of the three of us, holding hands. Above our heads, she'd written in careful letters, "Family." "Your mama put you up to this?" I asked. Isabella shook her head. "Mama's crying. She cries all the time now. She says she broke your heart and she doesn't know how to fix it." I looked at this child. This beautiful, healthy child who'd had brain surgery 3 months ago and was standing on my porch like it was nothing because children are resilient in ways adults forget to be. "Come inside," I said. "You'll catch cold." I made her hot chocolate. We sat at my kitchen table, and she told me about school starting soon, about how she'd learned to swim over the summer, about how the restaurant was doing really well but Mama was sad all the time now. "She says you don't love us anymore," Isabella said. "Oh, honey, that's not it's complicated. Do you love us?" Did I? That was the question I'd been avoiding for 4 days. Was any of it real if it was built on a lie? But looking at Isabella, sticky chocolate mustache, wild hair, trusting eyes, I knew the answer. "Yes," I said, "I love you, both of you." "Then why won't you talk to Mama?" "Because she lied to me, and that hurt." Isabella considered this. "When I lie, Mama makes me apologize, and then we hug and it's okay again." If only it were that simple. But maybe it was that simple. Maybe I was the one making it complicated. I called Sophia that afternoon. "We need to talk," I said. We met at the beach. Neutral ground. She showed up looking like she hadn't slept, and I probably looked the same. "I'm sorry," she said before I could say anything. "I'm so sorry. You're right. I used you. I lied to you, and I can't take that back. But I need you to know that nothing about my feelings for you was a lie. You became my family. The first real family I've ever had. You have a family. A rich, powerful family. I have people who share my DNA and my last name. That's not the same thing." She looked out at the ocean. "My father, he's a good man in his way. But he's cold, strategic. Everything is about the business, about the legacy. My mother died when I was 12, and after that, it was just boarding schools and business dinners. When I told him I wanted to open a restaurant, do you know what he said? He said I could have 5 locations to start, full funding, his marketing team. He couldn't understand why I'd want to start small, why I'd want to do it myself. "So you faked being poor?" I wanted to know if I could actually do it, if I was capable of building something real without his money or his name, and I wanted to know if people could love me without knowing who I was. She turned to look at me. "And you did, Maggie. You loved me when you thought I was nobody. You sacrificed for me. You believed in me. That's real. That's the only real thing I've had in 28 years. I wanted to stay angry. I really did. But I was so tired. You should have told me." "I know. I mortgaged my house, Sophia. My house. Tom and I paid off that mortgage in 2009. We had a party, and I put it at risk for you. I know. And I'm going to fix that. I've already had my accountant draw up the papers. Your mortgage is paid off. All of it. And I'm repaying you every dollar you gave me, plus interest. Plus what you would have earned if that money had been invested properly all along. I don't want. It's not a gift. It's what you're owed. You made an investment in my business, and that investment is paying out. The restaurant is successful, Maggie. It's profitable, and that's because of you. Because you believed in it when no one else did. Your family could have. My family would have made it a chain, sanitized it, turned Abuela's kitchen into a brand. You helped me make it something real, something that matters. We sat in silence for a while, watching the waves. I don't know if I can trust you again, I said finally. I know, but I'm asking you to try, please. Isabella asks about you every day. And I miss you, Maggie. I miss my friend. I thought about Tom, about what he would say if he were here. He'd probably laugh at me. Maggie, he'd say, you always did have a soft heart and a hard head. Sometimes you've got to let the heart win. I need time, I told her. Take all the time you need. It took 6 weeks before I could walk into Abuela's kitchen again. Sophia didn't push. She sent cards. She had Isabella draw pictures. But she gave me space. When I finally went back, it was a Saturday night. The place was packed. There was actually a waiting list. I stood in the doorway, watching Sophia work the room, and I saw it. She was good at this. Really good. Natural. Warm. She remembered everyone's names, asked about their families, made them feel special. She saw me and froze. Then she smiled. Not the nervous, hopeful smile she'd been giving me for weeks. A real smile. Grandma Maggie! Isabella came running from the back and crashed into my legs. You came back! I came back, I said. We didn't talk about it that night. We just fell back into our rhythm. I helped seat people. I chatted with customers. I watched Isabella color at the corner table. It felt normal. It felt like home. Later, after closing, after Isabella was asleep in the back office, Sophia and I sat at one of the tables with tea. The money's in your account, she said. All of it. Plus the papers for your house. It's yours, free and clear. Thank you. And I want you to have ownership in the restaurant. 20%. You earned it. Sophia. I'm serious. You're my partner. You always were. It should be legal. I thought about it. About Tom's Diner, how we'd built it together, how it had been ours. Okay, I said. But on one condition. Anything. No more lies. Ever. About anything. No more lies, she promised. That was 8 months ago. The restaurant has 2 locations now. One here in Seal Cove and one in Portland that opened in March. Sophia's father wanted to franchise, but she said no. She's building this her way, our way. I'm still involved. I work 3 days a week, which is perfect because I still have my library job the other 2 days. I like being busy. I like having purpose. Isabella is 7 now. She's healthy and brilliant and calls me grandma without any prompting from anyone. Sophia's teaching her to cook, and the girl has her mother's talent. Last week she made pupusas by herself, and they were perfect. Sophia and I, we're good, better than good. She's told me about her family, the real story. Her father visits sometimes, stiff and formal in his expensive suits, clearly baffled by his daughter's choice to live in a tiny town and run a tiny restaurant. But he's trying. He sees how happy she is. Last month, he pulled me aside. Thank you, he said, for taking care of my daughter. I almost laughed. I wanted to say, your daughter is worth $20 billion. She didn't need me to take care of her. But I understood what he meant. She'd needed someone to believe in her, to see her as more than a last name or a bank account. The magazine article had follow-ups. People called Sophia a fraud, said she was slumming, playing at poverty while real people struggled. Some of that stung. But the people who mattered, the people in Seal Cove who'd watched her build this business, they defended her. They understood. My son apologized. He and his family came to visit last Christmas, and he spent the whole time at the restaurant, getting to know Sophia and Isabella. He pulled me aside on Christmas Eve. I was wrong, Mom. About her. About all of it. You were trying to protect me, I said. Still. You saw something I didn't. You always do. I think about that sometimes. About what I saw in Sophia. A struggling single mother, yes, but also someone working harder than anyone I'd ever met. Someone who loved her daughter fiercely. Someone who dreamed big despite having nothing. Except she did have something. She had everything. She just wanted to prove she didn't need it. I understand that now. We're planning a 3rd location. Maybe next year. Sophia wants my input on everything, and I love that. I love being part of something growing, something real. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I think about what would have happened if I'd never met her, if I'd kept my money safe in the bank, earning its tiny interest. If I'd stayed home alone in my quiet house, teaching ESL once a week and shelving library books, I'd have more money probably. My son would be less worried about me. But I wouldn't have this. This family, this purpose, this life that feels full again. Tom would have liked Sophia, I think. He would have seen through her story immediately he was better at that than I was, but he would have helped her anyway. Because that's what we did. We helped people. The lie still hurts sometimes. When I think about those nights I went to bed worried about money, about Sophia's rent, about Isabella's medical bills. When I think about how scared I was, how I kept telling myself it would all work out. But it did work out. Just not the way I expected. Last week, Isabella asked me a question while we were making curtido together. Grandma Maggie, if you could go back and know the truth from the beginning, would you still help us? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yes, I said, I would. Because helping you wasn't about who you were or what you had. It was about who I am, and I wouldn't want to be anyone else. She hugged me, getting masa all over my shirt, and I realized something. Sophia had been testing whether people would love her for who she was, not what she had. But in the process, she'd given me a test too. Would I regret my kindness once I knew it wasn't needed? Would I let betrayal turn me bitter? The answer was no. Some things are worth more than money. Worth more than being right. Worth more than protecting yourself from being hurt. Family is one of those things. And family isn't just blood. It's not just the people you're born to or the ones who share your name. It's the people who show up. The people who stay. The people who let you take care of them, even when they don't need it, because they understand that giving is how some of us heal. Sophia needed to know she was lovable without her billions. I needed to know I was still needed without Tom. We saved each other. That's the truth of it. And no amount of money in the world could buy that.